2026. We'll start with a roll call. To my left, please.
Kathy Shaw.
Chelsea Eaton.
Bob Hayes.
Riley Bergeron.
Ed Barra.
Maureen Hopkins.
Andrea Westby.
Same.
Sam Pikus, planning coordinator.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Bilal. So we have one member missing tonight. Both alternates are here. I will suggest that we will have each of you participate in alternating agenda items so that you both get to participate during the night. So we'll go with Kathy on the first order of business, would be number 3, and Chelsea, or 3A, and Chelsea 3B. Under new business, it will be Kathy 4A, Chelsea 4B. And other business, everybody will participate. There's not a vote there. I think that's just
Mr. Bearer, can you just speak into the mic a little bit better, please?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking and reminding me. Thank you. Okay, first order of business, acceptance of the minutes of April 14th. Everybody had a chance to review them. Do I have any questions?
I had one comment.
Yes.
Just an edit on page 5. On the bottom of page 5, there's a motion made by Tim DeRoche and seconded by blank. I mean, there's nobody for the second, so just somebody could just roll back the tape to see that.
Okay. Maureen was out of the room, so you're not the second on that one. We'll ask that staff try to determine that and to add it to the minutes. If there aren't any other substantive changes, I'd ask for acceptance of the minutes. Yes.
On page 3, they have my name down as Chelsea Drake, where we're talking about the public safety building.
Page 3. Can you just give me a little bit more direction as to where it is?
So page 3, near the top of the page, there's a bold sentence where it talks about the board voting for Bilal to recuse himself. And then right underneath that, it says Ed Bearer elevated Chelsea Drake.
Got it. So if that change can be made as well to our minutes, anything else? We have a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All in favor? Thank you. All right. First order of business is a continuation of a public hearing, final site plan, subdivision review, Hampshire Commons Apartments, 143 Hampshire Street. Application by Goral Palmer on behalf of the Auburn Residential Development Corp. to construct a 32-unit housing first residential development. The property is located in the traditional downtown neighborhood T-4.2 district and will be reviewed under Chapter 60, Article 16, Division 2, Site Plan Review, Division 3, Special Exception, and Division 4, Subdivision. Item is continued from the April 14th, 2026 meeting. Just for everyone's understanding, we work from this prepared agenda. The process with these applications is to hear from staff first. We may have questions for staff. We will then hear from the applicant. This is a continuation of a public hearing, so we will take public comment. We don't take it in any particular order. It's not all in favor and then all opposed. So if you have an opportunity or want an opportunity to speak, feel free to take it at any time. Okay, staff.
So this is a resubmission for final plan approval. It's a 32-unit housing development off Hampshire Street. This received preliminary approval at the April 14th meeting with a few conditions that water and sewer easements are in place prior to activation and that landscaping be maintained for final approval. Since the last meeting, the applicant has provided the permanent location of utility easements and specifies in the cover memo that the upcoming land transfer of all 3 lots will establish easement language. And the applicant has also provided planting details with a maintenance plan for landscaping. And additionally, they have responded to the conditions of approval under special exception. This is a special exception permit because it requires, they were requesting a waiver from building width and lot width. And they also are proposing more than 12,000 square feet of building, which puts them in a special exception. So they've responded to that criteria as well. Staff have no additional needs at this time. I believe the project is ready for a final vote. And also just as a side reminder, I was told to remind members to speak directly into the microphone, which just as a reference, so that they can pick up the minutes.
Is that it, Sam?
Yes, that's it.
Did our preliminary review include granting of any waivers?
Yes, you granted the waiver from building width and lot width in the form-based code.
And so do we need to include that in our final motion, granting of the waiver?
It was already granted. They would need to include it on their final plan when they get it recorded.
They will need to?
Yes.
Okay. I notice that the suggested motion doesn't say anything about the landscaping being maintained.
I think I can include that as a condition. They did add a note on their plan of the maintenance of landscaping, of how it will be maintained.
Is the landscaping plan that they provided, is it depicting the same thing that they showed on their preliminary plan?
It's depicting the same type of landscaping as preliminary.
Same type, or is it all the pretty plants and trees that were shown on that plan?
It's the same that was shown on the last plan.
Okay. Anything for staff? Any board member? Kathy, you're the voting member on this one. Would the applicant like to address the board?
Oh, thank you. Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Marty Sidlowski. I'm the Executive Director of Auburn Housing Authority, and I'll just give you another quick introduction. Steve Bushy is from Goral Palmer. He's our engineer. Amanda Bartlett, to my left, is from Developers Collaborative. She's the developer. And Ginny Stanley is from our architecture firm, Invivid. The Housing Authority, just a brief history. We began operations in 1966. We own or manage and operate 564 units, mostly in Auburn. We have 10 units in Mechanic Falls. And we are familiar with operating buildings with all sorts of people of different economic and social backgrounds. And we really look forward to having an opportunity to be the owner and the manager of this property. Thank you.
To the board, Steve Bushy again with Goral Palmer, now known as LJB Inc. Happy to present here our final application materials. Sam has gone through, to a certain extent, what we provided, hopefully addressing staff and planning board comments that we heard at the last meeting. I do have this slide deck here that I'd like to go through again, and it may be beneficial. Some of it's going to be repetitive for you folks, but I think for members of the public who might be new here and are here on behalf of this particular topic tonight would like to see it. So I'll start off with the City of Auburn has 3 parcels here on the intersection of Gamage Ave and Hampshire Street, and one of which is a parking lot where we're going to be positioning a new building, and then a parking lot in these 2 other lots. It's about 3/4 of an acre, and besides fronting on those 2 streets, Basically, behind it is the Chestnut Street Park. Marty's made the introductions on things. I'm going to go through some of these slides, and then I'll have Ginny talk a little bit about architecture. Not a lot of changes there, but she can give you a little bit of more background on that. At the April 14th workshop, we had the board actions that Sam had mentioned. You provided approvals for waivers for the lot and building width. Both fall under the form-based zoning code at the time. So we had that discussion. You folks deliberated and kindly granted us waivers on those two items. There were several other items that we talked about as well that I think the board found were not in need of a waiver provision. You also made some comments in regards to landscaping and the maintenance of that landscaping, and I'll cover that here in a moment in our landscaping plan. What we tried to do in that landscaping submission for the final here was provide a lot more detail and notes in regards to the maintenance of said landscaping. And Auburn Housing, as the developer here, will be responsible for all of that, but we think we've added more depth to the plans and so forth that will provide, I hope, that reassurance to the city and to the planning board that the site will be aptly maintained. Sam also mentioned those conditions of the final sewer and water easements, and we provided that in a graphic on our what will be a recording plat that will get recorded to follow with this land transfer. So it's the City of Auburn will be transferring to the Auburn Housing Authority these 3 parcels. And as well, the landscaping be maintained was also another condition under that preliminary approval finding and letter that was issued. So for the public, the site location, again, here off of Gamich and the corner of Hampshire Street, Chestnut Street to the east of the parcel. This is just an aerial image, gives you an overview of the site's position here relative to the middle part of the city. Here's an existing conditions plan related to boundary and topographic survey that we had. We had professional surveyors Owen Haskell Inc. Provide that to us, so we're very happy with what will be the legal documentation for the city's transfer of the property. Again, it's 0.77 acres consisting of 3 tax map parcels, and the parcel here to the south contains a parking lot. As I see it right now, I went by the site before the meeting. The parking lot's currently closed with some wood barrels and so forth. Closing, I'm not sure, that must be the city has just decided they want it closed for a period of time. And then there's a undeveloped gravel parking lot type area with a stone type path that goes into the Chestnut Street Park. And then I think the history, as best as I understand it, there may have been a home here. It goes back at least 20 years that the home has been gone that I'm aware of. Others may know more about that, but currently it's just an undeveloped parcel here to the north side. Again, there is Gamage Street and Hampshire Street. I'll note we have the bus transit service stop and sign right here. There's a couple of benches, in fact, that will remain in place along the sidewalk. And there's sidewalk on both of those streets, so it's a relatively nice location with respect to transit orientation and opportunity for what will be the folks living here to have access to public transit. This is an excerpt of the land transfer recording plat, and what I've shown here in color is the easement area. So there are 2 utility lines that go through the property. There's a sanitary sewer line and then a storm drainage line, both effectively starting within the street and then going down through the property, then out through Chestnut Street Park. What is shown here in red will be a defined easement area that will be made part of that land transfer. So the city owns the land now, easy enough for them to be able to include within the legal descriptions. And I know that there's already begun that exchange of information specifically related to a legal description for the property that the city will need to make a land transfer, as well as a legal description for the easement. I'm sure that the transfer documents will cover those things. I've sent this along to Mike Broadbent at the utility district, and I've not heard any negative comments at this point in time. Thus far, his comments have all been positive, and yep, you're on the The T 4.2 traditional downtown neighborhood, I just point this out again, that the site is located within that, and multifamily housing is an allowed use. You folks, as I said earlier, granted the waivers of a couple of minor form-based code dimensional standards. So it's 32-unit supportive housing, and we are here before you to get site plan, special exception, and subdivision review. This is our site plan showing our 8,700 square foot building footprint, 3-story building that will have 32 units in it. Ginny will talk a little bit more about floor planning and so forth. Main entrance of the
I'm sorry. We don't need this level of detail a second time, so.
no worries.
Just to let you know.
Yep. 14 parking spaces here in the parking lot, access to the north side. The special exception standards that I provided in the letter, here are the 7 standards, and we provided evidence talking about how we comply with all 7 of those standards. Hopefully the board has been able to read those and are satisfied to the evidence that we provided. And relative to the civil pieces, i.e. the engineering side of it, the site's perfectly located or very well positioned. We have all the utilities that we need for water, sewer, power, natural gas, drainage. We've given you a lighting plan that shows several lighting fixtures at 16 foot tall. We obviously are concerned about safety and security, but not overlighting the site either. This project is going to be responsible to satisfy the Home for Good standards, and here is just a bullet list of the various items under the Home for Good standards that this project will be looking to satisfy. So there's a lot of good things here as to the interior of the building and then things on the outside of the building. For example, the covered outdoor smoking area and then a covered bike storage area, for example. Other amenities, as I said earlier, the fixed transit service. We're going to have a bike storage, potential for EV bike charging, some healing garden space for residents to be able to go out into the back of the building, besides having Chestnut Street Park so proximate. So there's lots of opportunity for them to have some solitude areas. Sidewalk system, as I said, Hampshire and Gamage Street has great sidewalks to be able to get in town to other locations, and then lots of inside programming space, again, that falls under that Home for Good criteria. Here's our landscape plan in color. You'll see a number of trees for buffering along the street and to the sides. The front of the building, I'm going to show you the rendering here in a moment, where we did do a little bit of modification there to lower some landscaping in front of a few windows, but we still have a long chain of plantings that'll go along the face of the building and some blueberry sod between the sidewalk and those plantings. The blueberry sod is nice because it'll grow to a condition where people won't walk on it, but it'll stay low as well and solid. And we've used that successfully in a lot of locations, particularly when there's a sidewalk there with a lot of people walking back and forth, and it'll hold up really well. The bike area here is just to the north side of the building. And we have connectivity to the park with a stone dust path, and then there's a signed area for 2 parking spaces that we're providing that will be for the public for accessing the park. Our entrance here off of Gamage, and a solid waste area and smoking area on the far north end. So here are the floor plans. I'll let Jenny speak to that just for a second. There's just 3 slides here, and then the final rendering.
I will just run you quickly through the floor plans. They haven't really changed very much. So in the green, you see like 4 units on the first floor. Each unit will just have 1 single residence in them. And then this project is really focused on community spaces. So we have like the entrance reception area, communal seating, and all of that. Yeah, if you want to go to the second. So on the second and third floor, we just have units only. And exterior elevations. We have kind of a fiber cement siding at the upper levels that is kind of a wood tone, and then masonry on the lower level. We have changed the landscaping a little bit because it was a little too much before, so we've reduced it down a little bit so it's easy to maintain by the client. We now show the wood shed that, or the bike shed that we didn't have in there before.
We also have the connectivity to the sidewalk here. So this sidewalk is along Hampshire Street. We're going to try to make, this is 10 foot wide, so fairly robust for people to be able to walk off of the street, get into the main entrance area, and then some flat work that will extend over to the parking lot as well. So people going back and forth between the parking lot and/or the sidewalks will have not just a real, or not a little narrow sidewalk, they'll have a pretty robust, nice concrete flat work area. So next steps, we're hoping for a final action tonight. We're here to request that from you folks. And if successful, we'll go through construction document phase, May through August, closing out of the project with land transfer and so forth, signing up a contractor into September and October with a potential start by the end of the year and completion hopefully by the end of 2027 or so. So that's the end of our presentation. So hopefully that gives you a clear enough picture.
Questions? Yes, Kath?
I believe that the public already has access to the park through the lot from the street. Is that going to continue?
Yes.
Will that access simply be through the parking lot?
Well, we're providing 2 parking spaces, and the public will be able to walk from the sidewalk through our flat work area. That's why we made it pretty robust, and I'll show you here on this site plan. So here's what would be the public access piece. So this is concrete sidewalk area connecting to a stone dust path, which is matching what's out there today. And this right here ends at our property line, but that already matches into what's already out there.
I just had one question about the landscaping. On the landscape plan, there are notes, there are 14 notes. Note 10, it seems to be that it's instructing the landscaper as to his responsibilities for replacing plantings. This is not intended to be this is not how you're memorializing what I've described as ongoing maintenance of the landscaping, because this has some sunset provisions in it, after a year, after 2 years, whatever. Your responsibility is, as long as the project's there, landscaping will be maintained. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. So am I right that the note that I see here is really between the owner and the installer of them?
Yeah, we typically have a 1-year warranty period on planted material by the installer, and then after the warranty period and any performance guarantee that is held between the developer and the contractor, and or maybe a performance guarantee that may be paid to the city during a certain period of time. After that expires, then it's the owner's responsibility to.
Thank you. I'll open it up for the public. Any member of the public here to address the board concerning this application?
Stephen Beal, 575 Johnson Street, Johnson Road. I think there's a technical issue that needs to be resolved. The first screen that you were shown tonight, and much of the commentary has identified the applicant as Auburn Housing Authority. The agenda before you refers to the Auburn Residential Development Corporation. I'm quite familiar with both entities. I believe I created Auburn Residential Development Corporation on behalf of the Housing Authority quite a number of years ago, and it was set up to handle various projects that didn't meet the strict mandatory criteria for certain different classes of HUD requirements for different forms of construction. And so I think the applicant ought to clarify whether this is in fact Auburn Residential Development Corporation or the Housing Authority that is the applicant.
Thank you. Yes, please
I didn't want to speak if it wasn't appropriate to do so.
identify yourself and let us know.
So the reason why we have...
Identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Amanda Bartlett, Developers Collaborative. I'm the development consultant for the project. So the reason why, and this is commonplace across all housing authorities in Maine when we develop housing, most housing authorities have essentially like a development corporation that acts as kind of an intermediary through the development process prior to the project being transferred over at closing to the permanent owner, which in this case will be Hampshire Commons LP. And so we have reviewed the applicant name associated with the application, and it is accurate as submitted.
What is it?
Auburn Residential Development Corporation. Yeah.
So will the deeds from the city or deed from the city run to the Auburn Residential Development Corporation?
I believe that's who we have the option with, which is why we. Yep.
Oh, thank you. Marty Sedlowski, Auburn Housing Authority. The option is currently written with Auburn Residential Development Corporation. That is because Hampshire Commons LP had not yet been created at the point at time that the option was needed in order to move the process forward with Maine Housing in terms of the tax credit component and what we had done in terms of putting our request for qualifications together. So as we move forward down the line, the property will fall under the ownership of Hampshire Commons LP, which will be the tax credit entity for the development.
And will the Auburn Housing Authority be the general partner?
The general partner will be Auburn Housing Development, Inc., which is a wholly owned subsidiary of yet another entity of the Housing Authority, which is called Auburn Housing Development Corporation. So yes, we are inextricably linked into that.
So as far as we're all concerned, the applicant before us is the Auburn Residential Development Corporation.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other member of the public care to address the board? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mike Thurston. I'm the chairman of the board of Auburn Housing Authority. I just have a few things. Chronic homelessness is not often caused by underlying and untreated physical and mental health illnesses, which when left uncared for, adds up far beyond the cost of providing people with the housing and support they need to stay healthy. To ensure long-term stability, 100% of the units in the development will be supported by vouchers, which require tenants to pay 30% of their income or rent. We don't have to accept homelessness. We don't have to build more shelters. Things can change. With services like stress, danger on the street, they can work on recovery, engage in mental health, and reconnect with their families. If you'd like to see how this development can be successful, you need to look at Logan Place and Florence House in Portland. We must end homelessness, not manage it, not deal with it. With your support, we can work together to achieve this goal, but end it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address the board concerning this application? Seeing none without objection from the board, I'll declare the public hearing closed. This is the opportunity now for the board to discuss, or deliberate, and to make a motion to approve with conditions, or deny this application. Floor is open. Sure.
So I have a question for the applicant. Could you show us any other entrances? I know there's the main entrance that you showed us from the parking lot standpoint. Is there any other way to get in outside of the building?
So here's a floor plan of the first floor and the main entrance here in this corner. We have the lobby area of sorts, and there is a set of stairs here with an elevator on the north end of the building. The other entrance to the building would be off of the stairwell to the south end of the building here, this side. And there's a doorway over here for the rear of the property coming off of a community space for outdoor access. And then there's a couple of doors, or at least one door here for mechanical space into a mechanical electrical room. I think I captured all the doors that we have thus far.
Appearing to be no deliberations. Anybody prepared to make a motion? Riley?
I make a motion to approve the final plan for Hampshire Street Commons Apartments located at 143 Hampshire Street, PID 250-311, 250-310, and 250-309 in traditional downtown neighborhood T 4.2 district pursuant to Chapter 60, Article 16, Division 2, Site Plan Review, Division 3, Special Exception, and Division 4, Subdivision.
Seconded.
Would you accept a condition of approval that the landscaping be maintained in perpetuity?
I thought that was detailed in the plan enough that I didn't need to make a condition for it.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on, next item on our agenda is a continuation of a public hearing and final site plan for subdivision review. Wahan Oaks subdivision, 146 Manley Road. Application by Trillium Engineering Group on behalf of Homes for All LLC for a proposed 14-lot, single-family subdivision. Property is located in the traditional neighborhood development district T4.2B and will be reviewed under Chapter 60, Article 16, Division 2, Site Plan Review, and Division 4, Subdivision Review. This item is continued from the December 9, 2025 meeting. Staff?
So this received preliminary approval at the December 9th meeting. And at that meeting, there were a few conditions that the applicant was required to address before final approval. Some of those were the wetland permits, showing areas of wetlands on the plan, compliance with the open space standard, coordinating with Auburn Sewer and Water on service connection, and stormwater management plan be submitted. So since that meeting, the applicant has provided a stormwater plan. They actually are filing a permit by rule for wetland impacts, and that will include meeting standards for Chapter 500 for erosion control and stormwater. They are opting to pay the fee in lieu of providing open space, and they met with the rec department, and that fee will go towards improvements at Mount Appetite, trail improvements. They have a sewer and water capacity letter, and I've shown a location of proposed sidewalk along the private road, and location of wetland disturbance areas. So staff, we recommend that this application be tabled to the next meeting because it's not complete. There are details missing regarding exterior lighting, sidewalk design details, and information regarding how the proposal meets the intent of the form-based code. Additionally, our definition of lot frontage refers to the length of lot between side lot lines which border an accepted street. This road is going to be a private road, so it won't be accepted. So as staff are requesting that a letter be provided stating that the frontage is coming off of a private road rather than a publicly accepted street. So our recommendation is, we're going to hear from the applicant shortly, but our recommendation is that this be tabled to the next meeting. It is a public hearing, so there's a 30-day timeline for a decision. So we're within that timeline, but that's what we have from staff perspective.
Okay. Any questions for staff before we turn it over to the applicant? Chelsea, you'll be participating in this review. Sam, in your proposal overview, you use the words that it is that the traditional neighborhood district allows single-family dwellings by right. What does by right mean?
It's permitted as in, if you're just doing a single-family home by itself, it does not need planning board review. By right is permitted. If it's special exception, it goes to planning board. This is planning board because it's a subdivision, multiple lots, and a private road.
Thank you.
Sam, could you explain to me, I just didn't understand it. You said something about because it's a private road, there's an issue about frontage. I didn't understand what you were talking about. Can you explain it to me, please?
Yes, and I can pull up the ordinance, that might be helpful. So just looking back at our definitions of how we define frontage and understanding that there were projects that were previously approved that had proposed private roads for lots to gain access off of. So going forward, I mean, our definition right now says it has to be off of a publicly accepted street, which a private road would not fall under that. So as going forward, we're requesting that some sort of documentation be provided stating that they're proposing to get frontage off of a private road that's not accepted. Okay.
Wouldn't the answer
Thank
to
you.
that be to change the ordinance?
That would be the answer, to change the ordinance, but right now that's our current definition.
I understand, but what representation will the applicant make that makes any difference? These lots are a certain number of feet wide. I assume it's the same frontage that would be required if they were indeed on what is proposed to be a public way or a publicly accepted street. So what's our objective here? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, I think yes, it would be the same requirement no matter if it's a public or a private road, but it's, I think we just wanted to document something stating that this is, they're obtaining frontage on a not publicly accepted road and that the board has accepted that as fine, that the board has found that acceptable, I mean.
Have any questions for staff?
I have a question about open space. So in lieu of open space being provided in this plan, they are paying to have the improvements at Mount Appetite, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So there's no open space for any sort of recreation, picnic tables, public areas in this proposal?
There's no open space on the plan. No.
So they're cramming a whole bunch of houses onto a street with no provision other than a park a distance away? And do you know how far that park is away?
It's Mount Appetite, and I'm not sure exactly, but it's not that close.
So in order to recreate, they're gonna have to get in their car and drive instead of having some sort of public facility, open space where they're living. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up. And the rec committee comments, so in the ordinance, the rec committee will review proposals for open space and for paying the fee, but it's up to the board to decide if that's adequate, and it's ultimately comes down to the board's decision.
Sam, you mentioned the tabling it to next month. Is it your opinion, it might be a question for the applicant, that they're going to be able to provide all these missing parts by next month's meeting?
I think that's a question for the applicant.
Okay.
The reason why I mentioned next month is because of the 30-day timeline for a decision on final plan approval. But if the applicant can't provide the information by the next meeting, I think the board and the applicant have to agree to extend the timeline.
Thanks.
We'll hear from the applicant, but I'm not sure I think it's within the board's purview to continue the public hearing. The public hearing, we don't have to close the public hearing. There's no 30-day window until the public hearing closes, right? I don't.
Yep.
I'm wondering what would be a more efficient use of time, though. If we know it's not going to, then why not let them come back? Because right now, I would not say this is a complete application, but if we tabled it, we could have them potentially complete an application that would be worth deliberation.
Why don't we, so your opinion of what you heard right now is that the application is incomplete?
Yes, yeah.
Does the applicant care to address the board and tell us that he believes the application is complete?
Good afternoon. Hal Berwick with Trillium Engineering Group, representing Homes for All LLC for the proposed Manley Road subdivision. Although there may be parts that we are still working on, such as a stormwater report and some of these other items that we had mentioned, the comments that we had previously received from the last review, we feel as though we've brought most of those into the plans and would be willing to talk about it and address it with the board, if that is a possibility.
So do you think your application's complete?
I believe it's complete to the point that we could review it tonight to provide more comments if needed at this point. There are still missing elements such as the stormwater and a few comments that we received from Sam May 1st that we have not addressed yet for this submission.
Sam, can you tell us what items you think are missing? I know you may have already told us, but if you could list the items that you think are missing.
Yeah, so I didn't see any exterior lighting details in the application nor in the previous one from December. I also didn't see any building design details. That's part of the form-based code. Form-based code has design details for buildings, for form of development. The sidewalk is shown on the plan, but it should be provided as part of the details page to show the width of the sidewalk, the esplanade as required in our ordinance. Also, like landscaping details as well. We don't specify, or we don't have anything specific in our ordinance around landscaping, but providing details of tree and shrub types is important so that we know that things are native and that the species are tolerant of the conditions of the site. That's important.
Well, I think before we entertain a motion to whether this is complete or not, 'cause I think that's probably a foundational question we ought to address. And it's not complete, and I don't think we take any further action tonight. I did have one other question for staff, if I be given the opportunity to find it in my notes. Oh. Sam, in respect to open space, your paragraph, bulleted paragraph on open space in your memo to us, the final sentence or two sentences say, a requirement of section 60, 548B1 is to show 10% minimum of usable open space. The applicant will need to address this standard. I was under the impression that our ordinance, for better or worse, doesn't require open space if you pay a fee in lieu. What is the 10% that seems to be remaining?
The 10% is referenced in the form-based code, and I believe it's for yard requirements, showing some form of green space. The larger open space question is really for recreation space for the site.
Okay, thank you. What's the board's pleasure? Bob?
I guess I have one question and a comment. I guess the question has to do with solid waste disposal. And again, where the owners will take care of their own waste. We have upcoming, we have a new system for trash pickup where each unit, each house will be provided two sizable 64 cubic feet, I think. And the problem is that there's going to be an operator on a truck, one operator. Those all have to be lined up on the street side so they can be picked up. What street are they going to be lined up on?
I believe the proposed Manly. Let me bring it up. Is it okay if I bring it up?
Sure.
Okay. I know we're still. So it'd likely be on the Wayhon Oaks Drive. Would be where the solid waste containers in front of each of these residential buildings where they put it out. And I believe it was our understanding that the collector would come along this drive to pick up the solid waste.
Okay, so that has been discussed with Public Works?
At this point, that has been discussed with Public Works.
Because my understanding is if it's a private road, I think there is some question whether the contractor will be on private roads.
Okay. I believe the intent was to have the road adopted. Was it the intent to have the drive adopted as a city, as a public road? Well, probably. Okay. Okay.
Well,
I did want to add the point about the city does not really have capacity to take on more public roads.
Okay.
So we're encouraging more private roads.
Well, we might encourage that, but if somebody builds a road that meets standards, is it not possible for that entity to go to the city council and ask that the road be adopted?
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely still possible. It's just that we're trying to dissuade it because they don't have capacity to take on more public roads.
So to me, that is a question that has to be answered, because I'm not sure whether the contractor for waste removal will be on that road or not. So there should be some consideration of the size of those barrows and the smallness of these lots and where they might be.
Okay, yeah, I'll note that. Thank you.
I guess my comment, again, is this use of 4.2 is problematic. It is in place. If it's in place, we have to recognize the form-based does require a lot more detail than other zones. So I just comment that if we have it in place, we have to follow it, and we have to ask for the detail.
Well, before we get too much further into this, let's have a vote on whether this is a complete application or not. And if it's not, the applicant will have to come back with a complete application, at which time we'll go through this process entirely if we deem it not complete. But if it's complete, we'll go forward tonight. So, Riley, I think you have an opinion on this.
Yeah, I think shy of a landscape and lighting plan that we should allow this to be tabled to next month to get that prepared.
So you deem it incomplete.
Yes.
Is there a second to that?
I second it.
Is there any discussion on that?
Did I make a motion yet? Should
Oh.
I make a motion to table this final site plan subdivision review to next month's planning board meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I think my only comment would be, rather than disregarding a section of the code just because prior planning boards have done that, that perhaps the road frontage issue should be addressed as a waiver request rather than us being asked to disregard something just because it's been done in the past.
So that's a suggestion to staff.
It is.
All right. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Vote of 7-0. Matter will be tabled until our next meeting in June.
Thank you.
Thank you. New business, item 4A, public hearing, site plan special exception review. Bayer Self-Storage and Auto Facility, 864, 868, 878, and 900 Center Street, and 1193 Turner Street. Application by Wright Pierce on behalf of Bayer Holdings LLC and Bayer LLC to construct a 9,000 square foot auto sales service building with paved vehicle display areas and gravel areas for rental of storage containers. Property is located in the General Business District and Suburban Residence District and will be reviewed under Chapter 60, Article 16, Division 2, Site Plan Review, Division 3, Special Exception. Sam?
So this is actually a resubmission of an application. It did receive planning board approval in 2024. However, they never came back to request an extension, and their approval has since expired. So they're coming back to the board again. And the development is for auto sales with paved vehicle display areas and storage. It consists of 4 parcels. 3 are in general business and 1 is in suburban residence. The previous plan was approved with a few conditions, one of which was that no development take place until bonding or inspection fees are determined by the engineering department. The second one was that all necessary stormwater improvements are shown on the plan. And the third one was confirmation of the CMP easement area is acceptable prior to building permits. The applicant has responded to stormwater comments from Woodard and Curran and made updates to satisfy that condition. They also are requesting a waiver from providing a traffic impact analysis. They state in the cover memo that traffic impact will be very little to the site. So procedurally, even though this was approved in 2024, it's essentially, it's treated as a new submission. So staff, we have reviewed it and don't have any comments at this time. The one question we have for the applicant is to confirm if they've met with assessing to combine the lots and record it as one lot. So there's 4 lots, 3 on one in one zone and 1 on another zone. The self-storage and suburban residence is accessory to the vehicle auto sales facility. And so there was a request from the last plan that the lots be combined and recorded as one lot. So just want to confirm that that's been done. We have no other needs at this time, though. That's it.
Why is a self-storage facility an accessory use to an auto dealership? I don't get that at all. There's 2 separate uses. How is that accessory to? Look at the definition of accessory.
I think it just means not the primary use.
It's what?
I think it just means not the primary use, not necessarily like associated with the primary use. It's just not the primary use.
No. Definition of accessory use means a subordinate use of land or building which is customarily incidental and subordinate to the principal use of the land, and which is located on the same lot. So it isn't just because it's smaller or incidental. It has to be customarily incidental and subordinate to the principal use. So I'm not familiar with the notion that a storage facility is an accessory to an auto dealership.
I think that's something that the applicant can speak to.
Well, does the staff have a position on that?
It was stated in the last submission that it was accessory to their auto facility.
Okay. You've heard my reservations, and I'm just reading the simple definition of accessory use. And where would the storage facility be? Is it in the suburban residential
It's in the
zone?
suburban residence.
And is a storage facility a permitted use in the suburban zone?
It's not permitted. That's why they're saying it's accessory structures and uses.
Is it on the same lot?
It's on a separate lot in the
So,
same ownership.
Again, it can't, an accessory use has to be at least on the same lot, if it's an accessory use. And you can hear my hesitation about whether it is or not. The applicants demonstrated nothing by way of financial capacity. Why wouldn't I just suggest that the application is incomplete for that purpose?
There should have been a letter of financial capacity in the packet at the end of the packet that I did request from them that they have provided.
I saw a note that said that they were applying for financing. I didn't see a letter.
I saw the same thing on attachment 5. I don't see a letter like what we usually see.
Right. Anyone else with any questions for staff before we hear from the applicant?
Have we received confirmation from Central Maine Power that they don't have any issue with the use around and over their easement?
I have not received any confirmation from them.
All right, if there aren't any other questions for staff, we'll hear from the applicant.
Hi, I'm Jan Wegman with Wright Pierce. I'm here representing the Bear Self Storage and K&R Auto. Just to give you an overview, there are a number of lots here. As you can see, 4 of them are held by Bear Holdings LLC. So if you look on the plan, there's 864, which is here, 868, which is here, and 878, which is which is the self-storage, as well as this area behind, and then 900, which is the auto dealership, and then 1193 is a parcel along Turner Street. So that's the makeup of it.
And which one is owned by, 3 of the parcels are owned by one entity and one is owned by the other, right?
4 of the parcels are owned by one entity, which is Bear Holdings LLC. And then this one in the back here is held by Bear LLC.
And so why would that be included in this application if it's a separately owned parcel by a separate company?
They're one of the applicants. There are 2 applicants here.
So there's only one application, right?
Right, but it's a combined, they're both applicants are in the same application.
Yeah, I know. And the use of the suburban residential parcel is for the storage?
What's being proposed is there's going to be some area used for some storage containers to store storage containers there while they're, being available to be leased out.
And is that a permitted use in that zone?
It's not a permitted use in the SR zone. If you look at special exceptions, there are some storage uses that are allowed for special exceptions.
Well, let's look at them. Can you direct me to the section that you're referring to?
I don't have the ordinance open in front of me, but
Looking at Division 5, and then special exceptions is going to be under Section 60-255B, special exception use. It should be listed under that.
I'm open to having somebody show me where it's listed. So I don't see it. Yeah.
And I will say too that these structures, they're not structures. I mean, they're obviously they're containers, so they're movable. And I guess you have to go back to the rural residential. 'Cause there's some. So there are some, in the suburban residential, it refers you back to special exceptions under the rural residential uses, which there are some storage uses that are allowed there, but somewhat related to agricultural and other rural type uses. It doesn't specifically say containers, and I don't know that the,
Okay, go ahead with your presentation.
sure. Current slide. Oh, let me just go back. All right, so the SR zoning is the Bear LLC parcel is zoned SR, and the rest of the site is zoned general business. The overall site area is 9.2 acres, and as Samantha had mentioned, the site plan had originally received approval from the Auburn Planning Board as we've got designed currently, with the exception of a couple of enhancements for the stormwater in 2024. So there's Bear self-storage, which is on lot, it's on 797. It's on its own lot behind, is the self-storage use, as well as it encompasses a portion of this parcel on the left side of the drive and the self-storage buildings themselves on the right side of the drive. And then K&R Auto Sales occupies the right side of the drive, and then this area in front currently, there's a spillover of containers and mixed use with some autos that are parked there from the auto sales. So what we're trying to do here is to both improve the overall site, provide some screening, as well as for the container use, which would be in the area behind, and have auto sales along the frontage of the site. So we're proposing a 9,000 square foot building here for the auto sales, to support the auto sales functions on the site. There'll be a paved parking space behind for autos, as well as in front. There'll be additional paved area in the front. And then behind that will be a gravel area that'll be used for storage containers. There'll be landscaping along Turner Street and along this back area here to screen the storage containers, as well as a fence. There'll be stormwater improvements, which I can get to on the next slide. There's an existing wet pond over here that services the self-storage units, as well as a portion of this back part of the site here that's gravel. There'll be enhanced stormwater treatment areas along the frontage, and then there'll be a subsurface stormwater treatment area on the auto dealership site, which is currently on the right-hand side. These stormwater enhancements will meet DEP and the city requirements for stormwater. So this is a reapproval of the 2024. It is a special exception use in the GB district. Stormwater meets both city and DEP site law requirements. As Samantha mentioned, we are requesting a waiver for the traffic study. And in general, the storage functions will be behind the building, screened from Center Street, and then auto sales use, which is consistent with the use along Center Street, that'll continue. And it'll be enhanced with both a paved area, parking or display area, as well as stormwater treatment. And that's the bulk of the presentation.
Bob?
Seems to me we're talking essentially two developments. The front on Center Street, essentially really the new development, new construction, repaving. Seems what we're doing is taking that suburban parcel and the containers that are out front now, it appears they're just being moved back.
That's correct. That area currently is at a higher elevation, so the grading plan calls for that area to be excavated so it's depressed, so it's not visible from Turner Street or the residential uses. It'll be screened from these two residential uses here, as well as a fence that'll be in this area here. So that's the program for that particular area.
I guess
But you're right. The container uses will be at the rear of the, or towards the rear of the site, somewhat in the GB zone as well as in the SR zone.
I guess that's where I'm having trouble accepting the second part of the development, moving those containers back. There's an ongoing discussion. I think it will be coming back through here as well as the council with respect to boxes. That's essentially what we're talking about.
Correct.
And I think there's a real issue with those throughout the community. And I think one area that we really do not want to see them is suburban areas. So I guess if that request requires a waiver to move in that direction here, I'm troubled.
I think that's why the ordinance doesn't allow for a storage container facility in the suburban zone in the first place. Why aren't these lots all in unified ownership?
I think it's an evolution. At least the four that are under the same ownership were created back when the self-storage facility was built. So the self-storage was on a separate lot in terms of its own lot. I think over time the entities that own them or control them have changed, and now they're the same for those three. And I think that the parcel, the Turner Street parcel, was purchased after these other parcels had been put together. And I'm not sure why it's in a different name, ownership name. I'd have to ask the owner. There was a residence on that at one point, and it was taken down.
Just a quick question for Sam. You mentioned that the city had brought up having the applicant combine the lots into a single lot. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
How would that work from a zoning perspective if you have lots in multiple zones?
I believe they also would have to apply for a zone change as well. That wasn't mentioned, but yes, they would have to do that as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, one of my first notes off the top was the letter on attachment 2 for the demonstration of financial capacity, which I personally felt was insufficient compared to the standard that we have as a board of having that letter from the financial institution and backing the applicant's claim of financial capacity. I don't think this met that standard, quite frankly. So my point here, second point is going to be about the waiver. So in our memo we got from staff, it says, the applicant states that the traffic increase as a result of the proposed development will be minimal, and thus is requesting a waiver. The proposed development is anticipated to generate 22 total passenger equivalent trips in the peak hour. So I guess my question for the applicant is how that number came about if there was no study that was conducted.
It was, I think it had come about as a result of the, looking at the size of the proposed building, the 9,000 square foot auto retail sales building versus, and looking at the ITE manual and extrapolating from that or calculating it based on the factors from the ITE manual.
Is the manual that you're referencing something that's part of the application, or is it something that was from a previous application?
No, it's a standard traffic engineering manual. Institute of Traffic Engineers, the ITE, they issue, it's a manual with various uses in it, and it has traffic projections based on those uses, based on either a square foot area or some other criteria.
Okay. And so, just a follow up to that, these self-storage container units, are they going to be, like in terms of size, are they going to be split up into different parts? Are they going to be large? Like how, I guess my question is, how big are these self-storage containers?
I think they vary in size. I mean, typically you can have a 40-foot long unit or a 20-foot long unit. And as you can see in here, most of these here are 20-foot long units. There are some 40-foot long units. You know, this is how the site's used currently. So this is more or less kind of memorializing what's on the site and kind of putting it in different areas and saying this is how the site's going to be used. That's part of what this application is about, as well as the opportunity to build a new sales building or a building for sales and support sales.
Well, the site that is the suburban zone parcel is not currently being used.
Currently, it's not being used for that, correct? Yes.
And do we agree or not that that's not allowed in the suburban zone?
It doesn't appear in the code.
So if I could finish my line.
Yeah.
So I guess with the need for moving these self-storage units into that new zone, like you said, it's going to be 20 feet long, 40 feet long. I mean, I'd imagine people are going to be hauling trucks in there. More vehicular traffic is going to inevitably end up on this land and parcel. So, I think it would behoove us to not, accept this waiver for traffic when it clearly will increase traffic in the parcel. So that's just my headspace. I don't know if the applicant, you have a reason for waivering that traffic request?
The self-storage use is actually going to diminish on the site from what it currently is, because the area that is occupied by the self-storage, the containers and so forth, is going to get smaller. And the auto sales area is what will be enhanced in terms of area or space on the site. Currently, it's being used, more for like an overflow, the auto sales, but the self-storage units are there. And those containers, a lot of them are they're there for people who want to rent one on their site, and they'll bring one of these to their site and leave it at their site, and then when their lease is done, they bring it back, that type of thing.
Another question for staff. Was there ever a municipal approval for the storage of these containers on this property?
Just for the storage itself?
Yeah.
I mean, not that I'm aware of.
How is it that they're there then, without city approval?
I'm not sure.
Does the applicant think that these types of units are an allowed use in the general business district?
The self-storage use was approved.
I get the
And-
self-storage, I understand that.
Yeah, and some of these units, I think, are, some of the individual units, I believe, are occupied in terms of people don't want them on their own or don't have them on their own property, but they have them here, and they have storage, materials stored in them on this site. Some of them are like that, I'm not sure.
So when the self-storage units were approved, was the area where we see these containers stored on the site part of that approval?
The only part, what was approved for that was to create the gravel area.
Any other questions from anybody else on the board, the applicant? No? Shall I open it up for public hearing? Any member of the public like to address the board on this application? Seeing no one approach, declare the public hearing closed. I don't see how we go forward with an application where the proposed use is not an allowed use in a zone. I understand that this may have been approved before, but I don't think that two wrongs make a right. The storage units are not accessory to the automobile sales facility that is part of this application. The storage units are proposed to be in a suburban zone where they're plainly not allowed, and I question whether they're even allowed in the general business. So I don't know how we could possibly approve this project. If you want to take a breather, then I just suggest we declare the application incomplete because the financial capacity is wholly insufficient, totally insufficient. But I don't see how we could possibly approve this application.
I guess I'd like to see this project come back, recognizing, the project to Center Street, to me, is a legitimate project, and a good development project. It expands auto sales and service as exists that whole strip. The real issue is the moving of these storage containers into a suburban area. So I think the two don't go together for approval. And there truly is there's been a history, there's been some debate, there's been a real issue of defining storage boxes. And it's been put on the back burner, unfortunately, because it has not been addressed by the city yet. But there's some real concern where there have been boxes truly in suburban residential areas that the city has had trouble getting moved. They've been used inappropriately under the eyes of most people.
Anybody else with comments?
I would just
Chairman Ed said, that pretty much reiterating the financial piece of it and the fact that, that part of the application was insufficient and that we should really be seeing more from that from the applicant. I'd be in favor of postponing because of the incomplete application as well, and move forward from there.
My only issue with postponing it is that if the application comes back with financial capacity, I still would have trouble with the storage units being put in the suburban zone. So I don't know if it would please the board to postpone it or to deny it and allow the applicant to take that information.
I would, if it's appropriate for me to respond, I would prefer to postpone it, and I'll take it back to the applicant and ask if that's something that can be eliminated from the plan or altered somehow to make it more palatable.
Well, I'll make a motion. I would move to deny the application as being a proposal for uses that are not permitted in the zone for which the applicant seeks approval.
I'll second.
And I'll just say, in support of my own motion, the applicant's always free to come back, make these changes that might be necessary. I think the applicant's also going to have to demonstrate, if they do come back, that the idea of storing storage containers is consistent with even the general business district. Any other discussion on the motion? Bob?
Do you need a second first, or?
I got a second from Maureen.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying, essentially, they could bring back pretty much this same application, just eliminate the boxes moving to that suburban parcel.
I'm saying that they could do that, but I'm not sure that even the boxes being simply located in the general business district is a permitted use. I've asked the applicant to show me where it is, and because I don't see it as even being an allowed use in the general business district. But that's a much closer call than whether they are allowed or not in the suburban district.
I'm just thinking, we certainly see them used in general business areas for sure.
And I asked staff if there was any evidence of any approval ever having been given for that use in that zone or in that spot, and the answer was no. I think we're seeing them. I'm not sure that that means that that's a permitted use.
Certainly prompts the city to address the issue.
And if they are permitted use, then an option for the applicant is to try to rezone that parcel that fronts Turner Street from suburban to general business. Right? Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our last substantive item on the agenda. Public hearing, site plan, special exception review, Town Farm Recovery Options, 249 Merrow Road. Application by Zach Cameron to change the use of the residential property at 249 Merrow Road to an outpatient recovery facility. Property is located in the industrial district and will be reviewed under Chapter 60, Article 16, Division 2, Site Plan Review, and Division 3, Special Exception. Staff?
This is a change of use to an outpatient clinic. The lot is in the industrial zone. It was, it's legally non-conforming. The residential home was grandfathered. All proposed changes will take place in the interior of the building. They're not adding any new lighting, parking, or signage. They have provided additional supplemental information for the board regarding number of patients, methods of treatment, staffing, and security provisions as well. For outpatient clinics, there are a few things that are required in our ordinance, one of which is screening. So if the use abuts any residences, screening is provided. There are no residential uses within near the property. They're not providing any screening. Additionally, they're required to meet twice a year with police staff. So with the additional information that's been provided, staff have reviewed it, believe it's complete. We're recommending the following conditions of approval if the board votes to approve. The first being that all licensing and permitting is received prior to operation. The second is that the building is inspected by fire and code prior to building permits. And then finally, as an ongoing condition, the applicant meets with police twice a year and notifies city staff of those meetings as required in our ordinance. The applicant is also requesting a waiver from providing a boundary survey. The survey is quite old. None of the property lines are changing. That's it.
Sam, it's not much money. Maybe it's being self-funded, but there's absolutely nothing in this application. Is there about financial capacity?
The application is being self-funded.
Is there a statement to that effect?
There is no statement to that effect.
How can we deem it a complete application if that's just absolutely missing? Any other questions for staff?
I think I have an older version, so I didn't, in my packet, I didn't have those conditions listed on my, at least on my printed out one.
I did not list those in the memo yet because there was information that I received after I sent packets out. So I did not include those yet. This is what I'm recommending though tonight.
Okay. So in the packet I have, I got that it was recommended that you need more, the staff needs more information. So this is an older copy of.
Yeah, so the information that I requested was about the types of treatment, staffing, and what's required for outpatient clinics. The information actually has been provided with your packets, so I sent the memo out before that information was received.
All right, thanks.
Do we need to waive the requirement for a survey?
You can, yes, you can vote to waive the requirement for the boundary survey.
The applicant's requesting that, right?
Yes, they're requesting it.
And we're pretty sure that no changes have been made to this property since the survey, the last survey was done?
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
Is the applicant here? Would you care to speak, address the board?
Sure, yes, please. In regard to the self-financing, I was working just with the criteria that AI and
Sam has provided me with, so I didn't even see that on the checklist, so I will apologize. Hi, Kathy, I've washed your eggs before in the past couple weekends there. That's incidental. It's self-funded. If you could perhaps allow me to get something signed by the person who is going to be the owner-operator tomorrow, even. I could send it to Sam, but it's small cost.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
really
small.
an easy project. I mean, this is, as far as the building, it's ready for it. There's not much to it, really. Traffic is minimal. I mean, all the details are here. We just really want to provide another option for the community in recovery, and we have our lead staff member already in place. We're going to proceed with DHHS licensing. Getting a little nervous, sorry. So this is, as far as effort, not hard. Everything's there. So I don't know if there would be any further specific questions.
What's the property currently being used for?
Okay, so currently it is actually primarily an office building, but the main conversion is a 3-bay garage, which is being used kind of as a hobby auto body garage. We have a retired guy who kind of teaches some people in recovery currently some new skills. It's used lightly, maybe 20 hours a week. So that will be eliminated, and then that's going to be moved into green to a garage there so that people can continue to learn and just work on pet projects. So. Otherwise, let me elaborate. It's already finished office space. So upstairs is the master office, 2 good-sized offices, 2 offices downstairs. There is a kitchen upstairs, kitchen downstairs. The bathrooms are being converted into ADA bathrooms. Tubs and showers are being eliminated. Really, we're just, it's so minor. There's emergency lighting, a couple fire-rated ceilings, and very small areas, actually. Some exit signs. This is not very complicated.
It seems to be a fairly large piece of property in total.
Yeah, it is.
There's, what, 4 buildings, 4 structures?
Yeah, so we're going to be building B, so it's the second building. Not easy to see when you're driving by because you got to pay attention to the road, but there's 4 buildings. The third building is used for recycling. Again, there's more people in recovery that are just breaking down pallets, and a lot of these people are working actually with homeless encampment cleanup and other things in the community. Building D is a very
Can you speak
large-
into the microphone, please?
My apologies. Building D is actually, wow, that sounds much better. Building D is just a very large storage area right now. Currently, there's not even bay doors. You can walk right in at any time. There is a forklift pad between D and C. These are so far removed or away from Building B that they're really of no consequence. The driveway to get to them is 40 feet wide, 45 feet wide, and there's just plenty of room everywhere. We have our own dumpsters on site. The first house, as was mentioned, is grandfathered in. It's a residential rental, and it's actually rented by the owner's daughter and son-in-law. And
Is there residential property on this property?
it is deemed so, grandfathered, yeah.
Someone living there?
Yes, the owner's daughter lives there, and they've lived there for quite some time. Apologies, I have somewhat of a strep throat, or not strep, but sore throat. So there'll be no disruption to normal people, and there's no intention to rent to the public this building ever in the future.
It looks like you need to be, you need to provide verification that you're not within 2,000 feet of a church, school, daycare facility, or public playground. Do you have that?
My apologies, I do not. Where would I find this? Is that on the application, City of Auburn Development Review application?
It's yeah, sorry, it's part of our ordinance under outpatient clinics. I can try pulling it up right now.
What was the distance required?
It's 2,000 feet.
Yeah, you'd have to travel miles to reach any one of those establishments. I don't have proper documentation, and documentation that would be provided considered proper would be what, like GPS, Google Maps to the nearest school or church? Or just somebody signing off, such as yourself, stating that there's no church or school within that distance, 2,000 feet?
It's your application, so you could prove that however you want, but I think a Google map or something like that is better than putting the staff in a position where they're making that.
Yeah, please, I wouldn't want to add to her workload. I know it's tremendous. I just don't really know the procedure. I would be very happy to provide that ASAP, priority, tomorrow morning, first thing, or even I could pull it up on my phone right now, or actually pretty quickly. I have a Claude subscription and could just ask for the distance to the nearest school and or church. Location criteria, let's see. Public park playground. How would this be verified, I guess would be my question, just by my own wording, and just me stating that there's nothing within that distance, or?
You would have to, yes, you would have to verify it, yeah, whatever way Google Maps that works.
Sure.
So that's, yeah, you'd have to verify that.
Okay, I'll do that right now. Tell me the closest church, school, and park, please. All right, so that will be this is insane, by the way. They thought where I am right now. My apologies. Here we go. New Life Church is the closest, 57 Manley Road, 2.5 miles away. Closest school is Pettingill Academy, 48 Merrill Road. This one is important, likely under a mile, so this might require further scrutiny. I'm thinking now if it's on Merrill Road, 2,000 is about a third of a mile. I can get the exacts on that in just 1 second. Park, closest is 3 miles away. And then if I could, I'll just get the school, Pettingill Academy. Distance between 48 Merrill Road and 249 Merrill Road. Okay. Oh, they confused it. Here we go. This is a correction. So the nearest school is just far away. There is a daycare. It's not a school, not a K-12 school, 1.2 miles away. That's what we have. No statute. Maine has no statutory proximity buffer for outpatient SUD treatment programs near daycares or schools that restrict anything of this nature. Maine law does not impose a proximity restriction on licensed outpatient behavioral health programs. We're not a dispensing facility. And I think the only thing that I haven't nailed down is the closest school by distance. My apologies.
I think the 2,000-foot requirement is not coming from state law, but from the City of Auburn ordinance.
Okay. Understood.
I
just need to know where the nearest school is. Can we cut
I'd
through
be
it?
comfortable with if the board's. I would be comfortable with making this proof a condition of approval, that this and the financial capacity be demonstrated to the city staff before. I think it would be, instead of going through it right now, it might be easier because then they could have a piece of paper with a
Yeah, I'd be happy
circle on it,
Yeah.
2,000-foot circle. And
Certainly, priority. I'll have it sent over tomorrow.
I would be comfortable voting on the waiver request tonight, but I don't feel like we have a complete application, and I don't think it's the staff's job to verify the financial capacity or make a determination if the verification is sufficient to meet the 2,000-foot setback. I think that's within the purview of the planning board, so I don't personally think that we have a complete application that we can vote on.
I must apologize again. I didn't know the money would be an issue. I thought, if it was a loan, so.
Chelsea?
I have a question for the board. Why would, and I'm not arguing this, I want to know, why would these two stipulations, the financial capacity and this list of churches, schools, why would we not be able to vote on the application with those two items as conditions, thank you, versus not being able to vote on this because it's not a complete application? How do you differentiate? Does that question make sense?
It does. It was Maureen's suggestion, but I'll take a crack at responding to you, and she can also, if she wishes. The financial capacity may seem small, and in this instance it is, but it is plainly a part of a complete application. You have to submit that, just like you have to submit a copy of his deed, which he did. The ordinance says that, and the ordinance doesn't say that it's up for staff to decide whether financial capacity has been demonstrated. It's something that the planning board has to determine. So some things we can delegate, but I'm not sure that we can delegate a finding or a conclusion such as that. So I think that's my response to that question. I think the question about whether this facility is within 2,000 feet of any of the protected facilities mentioned in our ordinance is a little more, yeah, we can accept an oral representation, but the way our applications work is that you submit that as part of your application so that when we pick it up, there's something in here that demonstrates that, something other than the staff saying that it does not appear to be within 2,000 feet of X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
So by definition, the fact that primarily it's the financial capacity, the fact that that's just not in the application, by definition, we can't vote on the application because it's not there, just by definition.
Well, we'd be on a real slippery slope if we start voting on incomplete
Right.
applications, because there
Okay.
might be financial capacity now, there might be a stormwater management plan tomorrow.
I'm not arguing it, I'm
Nope.
just trying, I want to make sure
That's
I
why.
understand. Okay.
Okay, well, forgive my shortcomings. I will just say that the nearest school is Auburn Middle School, several miles away. And I will be happy to provide the proof of self-payment ASAP. So, is there any other shortcomings that I need to address? perhaps just a maps indicating clearly what the nearest school, church, park is.
Yeah, like a Google map, or the city has a
Okay.
parcel viewer that works for that as well.
Okay, parcel view of distance. Man, it's unfortunate.
Sam, was there anything else that you deemed to be missing from the application? I know you went through some potential conditions, but was there any additional information missing?
No, there was nothing else that I flagged.
I would suggest then that I'll make a motion that the application is incomplete. Should be denied.
Are we denying the, or are we just claiming action on it?
Yeah, that's better. The application is incomplete. We will postpone until our meeting in June.
Second.
All in favor? I'm sorry, did I cut you off, Riley? I'm sorry, I looked at... Okay. I think that was unanimous. All right, thank you. And don't beat yourself up over the fact the application was incomplete.
Oh,
That's not
yes.
all your...
My apologies.
all
Thank
on
you all for your time. Thank you for your help along the way. I'll be in touch with you. I hope you all have a great night.
you.
Thank you.
Right. Other business. Introduction to LD 1829, an act to build housing for Maine families and attract workers to Maine businesses by amending the laws governing housing density. Staff will introduce the new state law and discuss potential changes to Chapter 60.
Yeah, so I'll try and keep this brief and pretty high level, but just want to put a plug in the board about this new state law. It's requiring multiple dwelling units per lot and changing density and minimum lot size requirements. So this state bill separates out lots within a growth area served by sewer and water, lots not in a growth area served by sewer and water, and then lots outside of the growth area. So it requires that for any lot that's in growth area, I'm referring to the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan shows a growth area of where the city wants to grow and develop. And most of these areas are served by sewer and water. So it requires a minimum of 4 dwelling units per lot. And it says we cannot set a minimum lot size that exceeds 5,000 square feet. These are for lots in a growth area served by sewer and water. So we are working on ordinance updates right now to Chapter 60. Because of this, we're requesting an additional meeting with the board. The board normally meets once a month. So we're requesting an additional Tuesday meeting to walk through those changes and to get the board's input and to have public comment as well.
Sam,
So, yes.
We preliminarily scheduled this meeting for Thursday, the 28th, not Tuesday, the 26th.
Okay, got it. Yes, for Thursday, the 28th. I actually am not able to attend that meeting. I believe DiCarlo, who's our new planning director, will attend as well, will be in attendance.
Will we be getting any materials ahead of time?
Yes, you'll be getting materials to review. They'll be in track changes in Chapter 60, and he'll walk through some of the sections with you.
So this is all in anticipation of amendments to our zoning ordinance that we'll have to recommend to the council?
Yes, these are changes the board will be recommending to council.
And this is a pretty heavy lift, I understand it. There are a lot of changes.
Yes, there are quite a lot of changes. It'll impact density, road frontage, even design types, landscaping potentially. So it's a pretty substantial lift. And the new comprehensive plan, actually, all of the zones touch the growth area in the comprehensive plan. So this will impact all zoning districts in Auburn.
Yeah, the vast majority of anything that is sewer and water is a growth area in the comp plan, so it impacts most of the city.
Do we have a sense of how many meetings we may have to address these changes to the ordinance?
I'm not sure at the moment, but I think our plan is for fall adoption that dovetails with the comprehensive plan. So I'm expecting maybe at least a handful. It's hard to say, though.
So I did meet with the Comprehensive Planning Committee Chair, Mr. Cleveland, and the mayor, and is it Lauren? Is she the
Yes, Lauren, yeah.
the long-range planner, to try to tee up when we'll be having our review of the comprehensive plan. And for other board members' information, Bilal and right, our representatives on the comprehensive plan committee, so we'll be. And Paul, our emeritus member, is also around. I think that we're planning probably at least 3 meetings for our review of the comprehensive plan, and our obligation under the planning board ordinance is to recommend the comprehensive plan. So I think we do owe it to ourselves and to the ordinance to review it. So we'll probably get it sometime toward the mid to latter part of the summer, and the first meeting that we'll have will be a joint meeting with the council. The staff will introduce us to the concept. Then we'll have a workshop and then a public hearing. Hence the reason that I had written to people a while back and asked you to gear up for the fact that we probably will be having a couple of meetings a month for a few months.
Yep.
The more you want to say about this, Sam, tonight?
No, nothing more.
I'm just trying to visualize 50 by 100 would be 5,000 square feet. 50 by 100, what's the size of a basketball court?
About that.
It's about the size of a basketball court, yeah.
4 units.
That's what I heard, and 4 units.
1,250 feet per.
And it's being dictated down to us from the state level.
Other business, no, that was our other business. Public comment. Public comment. Miscellaneous. I would ask, it's not part of the heavy lift, but at the last meeting we had, Maureen and I expressed some reservations about the way waivers are treated, more like variances to specific standards in our ordinance, and I had forwarded some cases on that topic to staff. I'd like to see staff come back and tell us that either we're wrong or that we're right, and there'll be some revisions made to the ordinance. So how do I go about more being sure that something like that happens?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that to my attention. Would you be able to forward that email to me? I did not see it, regarding variances waivers.
Yeah.
I think that's something that going forward, we want the board to be more involved in ordinance changes and in recommendations to change ordinances. So I think that's something that we can look into and potentially vote on a change to get adopted.
Okay, yeah, okay. I think I understand. Any other comments?
Hopefully I won't be alone in this. Riley could tag team here. But I was going to try to provide an update on the comprehensive plan as it stands right now. So pretty much we just had public comment on our draft land use categories. And I don't know if you guys have seen or heard of that. But that's basically going to be what areas of the city that are going to be, the high growth, low growth, and moderate growth, and then which what the land uses are going to be within each of the categories. And so just at a high level, I would say we've designated high-density cores, and the committee has designated a downtown, and there was 3 different areas. There was the Great Falls Plaza area, the Auburn Mall area, and the area surrounding Interstate Exit 75. And from that, that's going to be pretty much no limit. So buildings as tall as they can be, upper floors can contain multifamily units, businesses, mixed use, just housing of all type pretty much. And then you have mixed use neighborhoods and compact residential, industrial, and mixed use corridor, which are all going to be in, I believe, sorry, I'm like skimming through this, all going to be in the high growth land use category. And then for the moderate density, we have neighborhood transition, residential corridors, and then low density will include the agricultural, recreation, open space, drinking water protection, which will include Lake Auburn watershed and all the shoreland protections. And yeah, so that's pretty much at a high level.
I think it would be a good idea. The part of our last month's meeting, we had a document that had, you could scroll through and read the descriptions of all the land use types, but then also there was a zoomable map that would come up with the related zone that you were looking at. And if it'd be something, I mean, I think it's available to the public, so it's something I could email to you and you could distribute to the board, because I think it's a really helpful, it's a great way to look at it. It has all the information organized, and then when you're reading it, you're seeing where it's being applied to. So I think that would be a good thing to share. And as far as timing, you said that in the middle of this summer we're gonna have a lot more meetings. I know August was a deadline we were shooting for a deliverable, a deliverable comp plan, but that also doesn't. There's a lot of review that has to go into that, including us as a board. So, yeah, it's gonna get busy this summer.
I think so. It's going to be busy between the comp plan and the changes to state law that we have an obligation to amend our ordinance to be in compliance with. Anything else from anyone? Appreciate those updates. Thank you very much. A motion to adjourn?
I have one comment,
Okay.
if I may. And please don't construe this as me being rude, but it is extremely difficult to hear several of you guys when you speak into the microphone. And I'm sitting right here, and I know from personal experience in the past when I've sat in the room, it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to hear and understand a lot of what's being said. So I would like us as a group to think about ways to be better about using the microphones and speaking clearly into the microphones where the recording can pick it up and where it can be clearly heard from everywhere in the room. I don't know what the answer to that is. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm truly, it's very hard to hear. I don't know if we can put reminders on our desks to lean into the microphone. I don't know what the answer is, but I think it's something that we need to really think about, come up with a way to remind ourselves throughout the entire meeting that we need to be leaning into the microphone. And again, I'm not trying to be rude. It's a concern to me, legitimately. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Steve, can you hear us? All right, motion to adjourn?
Second?
Thank you. We're adjourned.